Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's happening, world? Happy Friday.
Hey,
Welcome to another episode of Cognac Confessionals. I'm your host, Sean, here at Where Media Meets Studios in conjunction with VJ TV Network, Fail Films, History in the Making Entertainment. Uh, what else? We Keep It Cloudy Productions.
yes sir, yes sir.
Shout out to the Mercury Lounge also. So, it's a beautiful Friday as always. You know, Sagittarius season.
An exceptional Friday, except
Yes.
for it being Sagittarius season.
Hey, it's the best time of the year, bro.
His first
Best
Friday,
time of
though.
the year. It is,
First
yeah.
Friday, the
First
last
Friday.
first Friday of 2021.
It actually is. I forgot all about it.
Yeah, you know.
Because last time I went to First Friday, my car was burglarized.
Oh,
So,
town,
you'll never get me again.
town taxes.
Sorry that happened
We have
to you.
we have a great show lined up for y'all tonight. I got my gracious, illustrious co-host as always.
Hey, and on top of all that, I'm so deaf.
Yes, you know. We have a special guest tonight. She's a 2022 mayoral candidate for the city of Oakland. She's been on the show before. She's my lawyer, my friend, Miss Allyssa Victory.
Good evening, y'all. Thank you
Welcome.
for having me. Hope
course.
y'all enjoying your end to this week. Seems like it's been a month, but we only 3 days into December.
Hey, you
Yeah.
know.
But hey, I need them to slow down, man. Because I swear to God, since I got older, man, it'd be January and then it'd be November suddenly.
Hey,
So,
time
man, I
goes
do
by.
need these days to slow down a little bit, man. Go on, let me live. For
Yeah.
real.
Exactly. You know, it's been an interesting week as always. I mean, it's always an interesting week. You know, we had the versus battle yesterday. Bone versus 3-6 Mafia.
AKA a bunch of grandfathers, rich grandfathers on stage fighting.
Was there any songs performed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't watch the whole thing actually.
I missed it.
I didn't watch much of it at all, to be honest with you. So, but I did see the little mix up, being busy.
Oh, busy.
You know, don't fuck up the bag.
Not at all.
You know, we too old to be messing up the bag, man. So I just hope that whatever's, I hope all that situation is calmed down.
Funny story. I was in Cleveland when Busy's solo album dropped. And I'm somewhat familiar with Crazy. I ain't going to say we best pals, but enough. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go up there and, support Busy. Well, I get up there. Busy is nowhere to be found.
Wow.
And back in those days, they used to have what these things called flats. They was the same size as album covers.
Yeah,
And the star would sit at the record store and they would sign
sign
them.
them. Yeah,
Well, Busy is nowhere to be found. It's Crazy, Lazy, and Wish are there signing their autographs to Busy's picture.
wow.
So I hollered I hollered at Crazy, like, hey, what's happening? He said, man, Busy ain't talking to us. I was supposed to go solo first. Maybe at that joint, that Hard Time Hustling. He said Busy went and signed a side record deal and dropped his album first to show him that there's no hard feelings. We came out to support him.
Right.
He's not here. The promoter wants to kill him, so we're filling in. Later that night, there was a Busy show that Busy had got paid for. Busy's nowhere to be found.
Wow.
So Crazy, once again, Crazy, Lazy, and Wish showed up and performed Bone Thugs songs because the promoter had already paid Busy
Right.
and was talking about they were going to have him killed.
Wow.
So the rest of Bone, who he wasn't talking to at the time, showed up and filled in for him. That's an example of the type of dude Busy is. He's a flaky, wild dude. He wasn't talking to them, none of that, but they still stepped up to basically save his life.
They're
That's a
their
deep
brother's
support.
keeper.
Deep relationship.
I mean, that was I seen the little, you know, like I said, I watched part of it, and I was just like, wow, that's just kind of, it's sad, you know.
Because he does have some lifetime trauma.
Yeah, you know, and
A lot of people.
yeah, so I wish that man the best. Hope that whatever it is, I hope you know, help and healing.
But at this stage, I mean, he's late 40s, I'm sure, because they've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
He's late 40s. This might be just who he is.
Well, everybody's they are who they are until they discover that they're more than who they are currently.
Well, I mean, this might be who he is in regards to. He
Yeah.
seems to have some self-destructive tendencies, and I think when you this far down the road, it's hard to turn those things around and do better, so to speak. You know.
Nothing beats a failure but a try.
Well, I'm gonna
Still
pray
got
for him.
hope in people. Still send prayers.
I'm gonna pray to God.
Not too old to learn something new.
Right. You can teach an old dog new tricks, regardless of what they tell you. You can. You can. The dog's willing to learn.
I make a new slogan.
The key
I'm saying.
part. The dog has to be willing.
Yeah. But Miss Victory, how are you?
I'm good. Feel like I've been all over the city just in the last few hours, but
Yes.
happy that I've landed here, able to chat with y'all a bit and slow down my night before I get back out to it.
Right. So you heavy on this campaign trail. For y'all just tuning in, Miss Victory is running for mayor of Oakland in 2022 next year, and she has a lot of spunk and tenacity, and she's a real go-getter. You know, and I'm not just saying that because I know her personally. You know, I do know her personally. You know, hey Cynthia, hey Steve, what's happening, Kenya? Everybody, thank y'all for tuning in. So, you know, Oakland, the city. Let people know your background. Spit it to the world. Introduce yourself to the people.
Introduce
The
myself.
whole world.
I'm Allyssa Victory. I'm a candidate for Oakland Mayor. The election is November 8th, 2022. I'm running to be the first Black woman mayor to lead this city. But I'm running because my job is already justice, it's already public service, and I want to take that to the ultimate public servant seat. I'm running not to be a politician, but to be a leader in this community. I'm raised here. I grew up in North Oakland, Bushrod Park area, NSO, on 58th and Shattuck, and that was the first house that my family was able to purchase, and was our own home, not renting, not duplexes that we had come from before that. And I grew up there with my mom and my younger sister. My mom was a teacher. She taught for Head Start. She's taught for public school districts. She's taught at private schools in Montclair and Redwood Heights. So I always had a really strong foundation for education and always had my own teacher at home. But my mom made sure that I learned about community service and providing for our community, for our neighbors at an early age. We joined True Vine Baptist Church in West Oakland when I was in middle school. And every weekend I would go to food pantry or clothing ministry and would spend my weekends with my mom serving people in West Oakland.
So you've had a lifetime of, I guess you could say, public service?
Absolutely. I'm a lifelong public servant, and I was a little bit resistant as a child and would be like, why can't I just stay home and watch TV? But it really helped me understand that there were people out here who didn't have that luxury, who didn't have housing. There were kids as young as me who didn't have that. And this was decades ago in the city of Oakland. And I continued my service journey in high school, my first ever paid job. I worked for Oakland Youth Together, which is a nonprofit still in existence, and they paid me to learn about education justice, to learn about how our school system was funded. They paid me to learn ethnic studies, to then teach it to my peers, to have assemblies, high school conferences. I was paid to go to conferences in San Francisco and in Richmond to organize with youth across the entire Bay Area. So I had the best job as a teenager and realized people will pay me to do this. They'll pay me to organize. They'll pay me to speak truth. They'll pay me to educate others on that. And I said, yeah, I want my job to be justice for life.
That's what's up.
Victory.
That's
Justice.
right.
I didn't know what that really meant at the time, but I tried to follow my heart and follow the people. I went to college at UC San Diego and didn't know a single person there. Never been to San Diego. But I got admitted and knew that UCs were good schools. Wanted to try it and just try to branch out on my own. Made a lot of community, a lot of friends, a lot of mentors. I started organizing with the Black students on campus, with MECHA on campus, with the Native American Student Alliance, and I worked my first year as a college student teaching a credit course to seniors as a freshman in college.
Wow.
And I worked.
So you're an
every year.
overachiever. That's what I'm
She
hearing.
gets it done.
Well, I mean, I enjoyed the job. I love working for justice, loved working on campus for underrepresented students since I was one.
Yes.
But I had to work. And my family became homeless when I was 17, trying to finish high school. We lost our home to foreclosure, precipitating the foreclosure crisis that so many other Black and working class families had to face in the city. So I had to work to put myself through school, to help my family. When I came home for summers or for holiday break, I slept on floors and couches. I worked at Fairyland. I worked as a cashier at Laney Bookstore. I basically hustled whatever job I could that would pay me money as a young student, didn't have my degree or any real work experience yet. So I loved the work I did, but I also had to make sure that I could survive and help my family out.
So your struggle that you personally experienced probably gives you a unique perspective on some of the plight that a lot of people in Oakland have gone through and are still going through.
Right.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like that makes you a uniquely qualified voice to speak for the people?
Absolutely, and that's why I speak even louder, knowing that I've been through it, that I've had to work to overcome it, that I struggle without help from our government safety nets, but it was our church, it was our neighbors, it was our family members that were helping us, it was nonprofits, right? It was Youth Together that would pay me, that would give me food to make sure that I would come to meetings so that I had dinner that night. They would give me BART tickets so that I could attend their meetings or go to conferences. So it was youth leadership orgs that really invested in me and set that foundation. And it continued all throughout college, and it continued even in law school. All right, so I knew I wanted to run for mayor, but I knew I wasn't ready. And that was almost a decade ago.
Gotcha.
I said, well, what does that mean to get ready?
And you heard her. She said law school. Which means you are a lawyer.
Yes, I am.
She's my lawyer.
I'm a licensed attorney. I went to UC Hastings College of the Law. I went there and studied government law. That's what my degree is concentrated in. But as many
and Kamala Harris went there as well, right?
Absolutely. A first Black woman vice president is an alum of
so
my
you're
school.
following in the footsteps of giants.
Absolutely. Also, great mayors like Willie Brown in San Francisco are alum of UC Hastings. My law school application told my law school, you should admit me because I will be the next mayor of Oakland. And that's exactly what they did.
Okay, so you've been speaking this into existence.
There you go.
You gotta believe it. Gotta manifest it. Again, I knew I wanted it, but I had to still work and to prepare myself. Had to still come back home because I was in college in San Diego. All right, so I moved back home to Chinatown while I was going to law school in San Francisco.
Now for the hard-hitting questions.
Oh, you ready with the questions already?
A relative of mine was a mayor in Stockton.
Okay.
And some of his opponents that he defeated literally created a fake newspaper called 209 Times. And they had it looked, you went online, it looked exactly like a newspaper, and they'd have these articles that looked exactly as if they were news. But each article, for the entire 4 years he was in office, just completely made up stories. And like they would even do things like
fake news.
Like if someone says, check out Miss Victory for the campaign violations, then they open up an investigation. Of course, they'll find nothing. They would do things like ask them to investigate, then write a story about how he's under investigation. You know, so
all 4 years this was happening?
All 4 years, and they literally, it actually undermined him, and he lost the election in 2020.
Re-election?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was one of the causes. People thought it was legit news. You seem like a truly positive person.
Thank you.
You seem like real energy, positive, like you're truly going to work for the people.
Yes.
Are you prepared for the dirty tricks that you know is going to come, the misinformation, to stand there and watch people spread lies on Facebook about you. Are you ready?
I'm definitely ready. Again, I've made this decision almost 10 years ago.
So you know,
I've been preparing myself
so you know what the
and
road is
making
going to
myself
come.
ready. I know politics can get ugly.
Yeah.
It can get very personal. People can make up lies, and some people will do anything to win. I'm not competing against any of my opponents. I'm competing to be the best candidate and to be the best leader I can for our people.
So you're going to be above. So are you?
Absolutely. I mean,
So
I'll
you're gonna go
definitely
above
respond if people
Michelle
are.
Obama style.
I don't have my sights set on federal office or anything, but I
But when
want
they
to
go
serve
low,
my people.
you're
We go
gonna go-
high.
Okay.
Absolutely. And being proximate to the people helps cut down on some of that noise, right? I have people who will come to my defense who say, I've actually met Allyssa personally. I've worked with her for years. I knew her back in school, and I was talking the same things back then. I've been consistent for my entire life. I've been showing up and doing food service, clothing distribution since I was in middle school, and I still do that almost every weekend now. So it's about being consistent, and it's hard to attack your character when you've shown up consistently.
Right.
Unlike some others who maybe might be capitalizing off of a name or just simply opportunistic,
Yeah.
you're saying that come hell or high water, this was the path you were going to take.
Absolutely. And I've taken it with the people as my priority, as my target, not necessarily politicians or even media journalists. They are important to helping getting the message out. We've lost a lot of local independent media. That's why I appreciate y'all for having me on the show,
Definitely.
for helping me join your platform and reach your audience, because it is a lot of Black artists, Black media that have given me a space to talk and to share my voice and my opinions.
Definitely. I mean, you're deep rooted. Just like the day before Thanksgiving, we were giving out hot meals for families. We gave out over 250 meals on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. Hot meals, not frozen stuff, and hot, fresh, prepared.
Oh, you was making gravy.
Yeah, gravy. I was making mashed potatoes, carved and deboned 25 turkeys. Tired. But you were there with us.
Emphasize that a little more, because there's this.
I watched it.
There's this image.
Hours.
There's this image of you as just this bossy cigar.
Yeah, I am that.
Cognac swilling.
I am that.
Boss about the town. They need to know that you are.
I'm a serviceman for my people.
Yeah, that.
Yes.
He
I'm
don't.
humble.
He
I'm
just
humbly
don't
kind.
stun on y'all. He comes
I'm in
and
the
gives
trenches.
back.
Yeah, I'm in the
And
trenches,
he likes
but
the grill. He likes the kitchen.
That's
He's
right.
an excellent chef.
I does that. Shut up and eat all day. But I mean, being in the trenches, we've been working together for a few years now.
Yeah.
You were my union, my local. You're our attorney, and you've always been at the forefront of things. You're like, hey, this is going on. You're out there talking to other unions, doing a lot of things for labor, doing a lot of things for minority women, doing a lot of things for minorities and people of color, period. And that's just a testament to who you are. I actually witnessed it, and no, I'm not just, gaslighting her for y'all. I'm being honest with y'all. I witnessed her work and what she does. That's right, Cuzzo. Real quick. Shout out to Cuzzo Biaggi. Barney watching what's happening. Rio.
Hey, that Biaggi.
They got
Trav.
questions in the chat.
He's got
Brother
the best
Alberti.
food. What's them
What's
lemon
up, y'all?
pepper?
Thanks
He
for
had these
joining
lemon
us.
pepper shrimp hoagies.
Oh,
and
the
stuff, man.
Biaggi with the
Because I have a
fried
shellfish allergy
lemon
now.
pepper-
I can't
lemon pepper-
participate.
Wow.
lemon
But,
pepper
I'll taste
lobster.
it for you.
but I'm
Yeah.
here to vouch for it.
It's all good.
Okay. Well, thanks
Go
for
ahead.
joining, y'all. Drop your questions. in
Yeah,
the
if y'all
chat.
got questions for Miss Victory, please drop in the comments. I will definitely send them over. But so I got a question.
Yeah.
What is your vision dealing with looking at the state of Oakland? The town the way it is right now. I mean, it's a lot going on. It's always busy. It's a lot good and bad. Going on. What's your vision dealing with the homeless situation?
We have declared homelessness a crisis at our city ever since 2018. and we keep renewing that local emergency declaration around homelessness. And our city reports their own numbers, report that an estimated 70-80% of the people who've become homeless over the last 3 years during this crisis are Black. They look just like me, just like us, right? Just like my family that was homeless over 10 years ago. Poverty is a policy choice, and it's one that our city keeps choosing, right? We chose to pass an encampment management policy, which does just that. It manages all the tent cities and RV parks and encampments that we're seeing pop up in our public spaces, on our roadways, under our freeways, by our BART stations. And those policies are not really about housing people. They're about redlining the homeless encampments and homeless people away from the city, away from city services, away from parks, away from libraries, away from senior centers.
Right.
There's seniors, there's children, there's students, there's teachers that are homeless, that are living in these encampments. So I want to respond with only policies and decisions that are centering people, that is being led with care and compassion and humanity. Not trying to remove folks, not to further displace them or exacerbate them, certainly not to criminalize them. Everything's criminal when you live outside.
Right.
Going to the bathroom's a crime.
But
Yes.
here's the but. I'm
But.
here to ask the hard-hitting
Yeah.
questions. I'm the journalist. There is, unfortunately, and how do I say this without sounding like some type of crazy right-winger? Okay,
Well, say it.
there's
So we'll see.
whereas there's a lot of people who are in these camps due to financial reasons. Like you said, there's teachers, there's professionals, there's people who simply cannot afford a place. But also hiding within these camps, there's an element of people who are causing a surge of crime in the areas around the camps. You know, and I'm talking about people who are unfortunately addicted to drugs and this and that. I don't subscribe to that. They're just a dangerous horde of people that are gonna kill me in my sleep. So the city needs to come. But when I do come outside, like at the first Friday I went to, and my windows broke, and there's 8 cars parked on the street, and everyone down the street's window is broke. And then I look over, and there's a homeless camp, and I just know in my heart that the person who's responsible for burglarizing my car and burglarizing these people's cars is coming from there.
I understand your question, and this is why we have to end the encampments. We have to end tent cities. We can't just let them proliferate, because they will attract folks who will take advantage, who know that there's people that are desperate, who will try to sell them drugs or alcohol. And guess what? Drugs or alcohol might keep you warm when it's below 50 degrees outside and you're trying to sleep. If you have mental health issues and can't access any health care. People do things because they're still lacking actual resources and services.
And many of the people who are on drugs are not just on drugs because, hey, let's party, let's get some drugs, and then let's go steal to support our habit. Many of them are schizophrenic. Many of them are hearing voices. Many of them don't have the proper that, and many of them take drugs to self-medicate. Relieve the
pressure.
So, and there's a groups like BACS, Bay Area Community Service and stuff, who go out and try to give the people shots. They go to the camps, because a lot of the drug addicts that you see, it's really a symptom of some mental illness. And so I do understand that something needs to be done for them. But when I'm standing there and my window is broke, and they talking about $250 deductible.
Yeah. I've been bit twice.
A twice removed symptom, we have to get to the root, right? It's our economic crisis, our crisis of inequity. We've allowed homelessness to continue to this point, and it's going to continue in this direction if we don't stop it and roll it back, if we don't have housing first policies. So as you said, even providing people with mental health services or medication will never be as effective if people still go live on the street every single night, still don't have any security, any stability, any basic shelter that's fit for humans, right? That's still going to cause other problems, and it's not going to be effective, any interventions. So we have to have housing first to provide adequate mental health services, adequate job training.
With the money.
Our money, we have to reprioritize our
Because
city's
there's some
economy.
people who are going to be very mad at you if the A's leave, and they're probably going to leave, but now you might have to make a choice: the A's or the people.
I mean, I don't see it as that dichotomy. Like, the people's money is the people's money, right? The A's money is a private corporation that is not actually city dollars that we have no control or no real benefit over. Part of the whole fight is making sure we get community benefits in whatever projects and developments. I actually spent 6 months on our Jobs and Economic Development Subcommittee for the A's Coliseum project, or the Howard Terminal project, excuse me. And that was sponsored by the city. So we have hundreds of requests of, here's what it looks like to be in partnership with our city, here's benefits, here's jobs that we want you to offer to our people and to our residents. So that's kind of the negotiation that I've been a part of with the A's. The A's, if they claim they're rooted in our town and in our city, need to show some good faith and show us, right? They've been here at the Coliseum, which is not too far from where we're at. What benefits have they provided to this area? Right, so really think about that. They have been here for decades, longer than I've been alive. And we have to still make sure that we are making decisions for public dollars based on the public needs, not on a corporate need. Right, the A's have their own dollars. They are a private company. But in terms of addressing our fundamental issues like homelessness, we absolutely need to reorient our budget, our city dollars, towards the people. Right, if we know housing is so fundamental, is a crisis even for people who are employed, people who work, even law students, and my friends who are lawyers are living with roommates, living back with their parents because they don't have any pathway that they can see to own and purchase property here. And they have high hurdles and high debt to even get rental. So there's a lot of issues that even with people who have money, that there is people being just categorically locked out of having any access to live here and to own our own city. So I want to shift and reprioritize people in our budgeting, and our mayor has a lot of power to propose the budget, even though the council actually passes it and has the power to amend it and make amendments throughout the year. But Oakland has around a $4 billion budget annually. We have the 5th largest port in the entire country. We have a wealthy state. We have a wealthy region. We have a wealthy city. That wealth is only going towards part of our population. Part of what I'm trying to do is equitably distribute our funds and our resources.
Lamar Russell has a question in the comments.
Oh, okay.
Bring up. The comment says the city of Oakland has dealt with parking for residential property owners for several years. How would you handle that issue?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Lamar. Like, you're saying it's a problem, or you don't want the city to handle it?
Go deeper into your question, Brad.
You could, be clear about what about parking and residential.
Well, I know when I lived on High Street.
Shout out to Ron.
When I lived on High Street, there was very limited parking in the neighborhood.
Yes.
And the street sweeping was scheduled like Wednesday night, midnight to 3 a.m. And on this side of the street be Thursday at midnight. So everybody was playing the middle of the night move your car game and stuff. And then a lot of people were getting cited. And then there was a right off like 48th where there would be parking. There was literally a crew that would hang there and just literally eat people's cars up.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So everybody suffered, and people were like, who do we talk to? Because it was a working neighborhood. So thus, if you were going to do street sweeping in a working neighborhood, come at 12 noon. Everybody's gone.
Yeah.
So why were we subjected to that? So that was one of the things, and there was literally like a couple people that lived in the building I lived in at the time actually went down to City Hall and tried to address it. Like, hey, this is a working class neighborhood. Do the street sweeping here. Don't make half the neighborhood unparkable in the middle of the night. And sometimes the citation person would come give citations, but the street sweeper wouldn't even come.
Wow. So many issues out here just in that statement.
I mean, and even looking at, I look at the residential park, and you look at, like how they redid East 14th now. And I notice a lot of places, people double parking in the middle of the lanes now.
It's just anything.
It's
going
just everybody does pretty much what they want to when it comes to parking, and it's just and I mean the streets. I mean you got potholes and stuff everywhere, all over the place. You always gonna need a wheel alignment driving through the town.
Oh man, if you got some nice rims and little tires.
That's why
Yeah,
I
my own tire got
refuse-
popped.
But
Living
if-
over here
I
in the 80s.
refuse
But
to
in
put
regards
rims on
to,
the black
but in
line.
regards to things like the streets and stuff like that, is that Caltrans or is that the city?
That's definitely city. Even, I mean, the city contracts out, like, even our waste management, California Waste Solutions, to do trash and recycling things. But we still have the power to negotiate community-centered policies and benefits when we're making those contracts, even if it's not city workers. One thing I want to do is expand our public sector so that these jobs are being done by city workers, so we
Is
have
this a
full
budgetary
control.
thing that is going on now? Or
In terms of parking,
like the road conditions and stuff like that, is it because we're in a deficit and it just can't be afforded to be done?
I mean, our deficit was addressed with emergency pandemic assistance funds from the state and federal government. So we've not, sat on our hands because of that. We just created our Department of Transportation a few years ago that has been addressing street paving, the slow streets. But I think there still needs to be a lot more community engagement, listening to the actual residents and the businesses. I lived in the deep East Oakland in the 80s when they were trying to redo this, the fast bus lanes on East 14th.
Mm-hmm.
And so many
I agree,
businesses
Cynthia.
were shuttered. There was nowhere to park. There was constant construction that just created traffic. And there was no way to mitigate that. And I'm like, the city could have foreseen this if they had ever driven in this area.
Right.
All right. If the city had ever been to Deep East Oakland, they would know how there are potholes literally every few inches on a street that make it so dangerous. I also lived there and would see cops constantly blocking both sides of the street to talk to each other out of their windows.
Yes.
There was nowhere to go around them. They would block the traffic for 10, 15 minutes to have a conversation. And some places you have to double park because there's no sidewalks. You just like fall down into an abyss nowhere.
Right.
What's up?
So there's a
Cousin
lot of
Sean
basic
watching?
city infrastructure. So again, we're one of the wealthiest cities in a wealthy region.
Yes.
But we don't have basic infrastructure like roads and sidewalks. Like you notice a change when you step into Emeryville,
Yes.
when you step into Alameda, when you go into San Leandro. I want our city to
San
feel
Leandro,
like we are investing in the most basic fundamental things that are required, right, for people to be able to get around, to travel. We also need to increase our investments in public transportation.
Yes.
I took the bus over here. I took the bus all day. Met
I
you
was
on
on
the
there.
bus. And I love the bus. I didn't have a license until I was 22. I relied on BART and public transit. And there's a lot of people that still do, maybe because cars, it's hard to have them. There's too many ticketing. It's very expensive to have your car broken into, to have your car damaged by all the street repair issues. So we need to also provide alternatives for people who don't want to have to be so reliant on cars, to maybe reduce some of the cars in our neighborhood. We also have legislation that's reducing parking minimums in developments for housing. So there's going to be even less parking available. That's going to push people to the streets. And there's no real plan knowing that that's coming. So I agree with you, and definitely having street sweeping and ticketing at midnight is not a people-centered policy, right? Like, as you said, you already gave us a solution, right? The people have the solution.
Yeah,
so the
but
neighbor
they-
said just shift it to the time when we're at work.
Yeah, and nobody that. But I have another hard-hitting question.
Okay.
Go for it.
But this one's going to come off as, they often play a divide and conquer game, or at least that's the perception, not to dive
That's
into
what they do.
conspiracy theories, but they often between us, and when I say us, I mean black people and Latinos, they often, it seems like they put us in adversarial positions. And my particular thing is, many people have commented, when we do see people working on the roads and doing various work in the city, I literally never see a black face on any of those crews. And then sometimes we do little informal quizzes, messing around, and everybody be like, oh, yeah, I live in Hayward or this or that. Like, hey, where you guys from? And stuff. And we be like, I know that a lot of this work gets contracted out and stuff, but it seems like whenever I go, like during the course of a day, because I work for the county of Alameda, and I'm all over. I'm all over between the various county buildings,
Yeah.
and when we look at the work crews,
Yes.
and I literally never see anybody out there who looks like me, and I can't believe that all these young black men and everything like that, no one's interested in any of
Those trades.
those trades. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sitting there like, literally, like it could be 10 guys out there, and not one black guy. And I'm like, how do we address that without it becoming a us versus them, or you guys gonna have to three of you guys are gonna have to get fired because y'all suffer the same oppression that we suffer, but three of y'all gonna have to be fired for three of us to get in there. Like, how do we keep that from happening? Because then now we're fighting each other because yeah, we're all the way starving. You just kind of starving, but you're gonna have to starve too for me to eat. Like, how do we address that?
It's an excellent question, and one that I am happy to speak on.
Go for it.
We have to have unity. It's not us versus our Latino brothers and sisters.
But you
It's
see
not
how
us
easily
versus
it
Asians.
can look like it's us versus
all of
them.
us versus white supremacy.
Thank you.
Right? Even white people need to be joining us in the fight against white supremacy, right? Against racism for all people of color, for poor, immigrant class folks. We have to reorient our city to equity. We had a 2018 Equity Indicators report that measured several metrics across our city about what a healthy city and a thriving city would look like. Oakland is failing on almost all of them and is black or brown people at the bottom of almost every single metric. So there's a lot of work to be done, but it's not Latinos who are taking jobs or keeping us out.
But then they'll make us into a death fight with each other.
They're not the ones writing these contracts, and they're not the ones from the city position that is allowing that to happen, that contracting disparity to happen. We have contracting disparity studies. I'm kind of wary about studies just because we already know what's happening. You already know it. We don't need to see the data and numbers, but some other folks do, and they still won't necessarily move to action. But we just had a 2020 contractor disparity study that was focusing on black contractors who had tried to bid on contracts to the city. That report from the city showed that black contractors lost out on over $40 million.
Wow.
Okay, so there's extreme disparity, and those are choices. Those are choices that are baked in from the outset about what qualifications we require contracts to show, what process we require them to follow, how accessible we make them, who are we even outreaching to, right? Not all of our businesses are connected to chambers of commerce or know their council member personally and are tuned into social media or on people's email lists. We have to go and get people where they're at. But I absolutely want to increase diversity in the trades, in the building trades and construction. That is a very lucrative job. They pay very high wages, even in apprenticeships. They are pathways to stability, to home ownership, towards family stability. And those are important jobs that we have to have equity in. The city right now is discussing the extreme lack of black workers in our building and construction trades. And they want
so
to
this
see a
subject
specific
has been
plan.
tabled.
Yes, it is being talked about right now with council, and I look forward to getting in this seat and working zealously to make sure we have an actual action plan and that we hold people accountable to that plan, or that we stop giving people contracts if they're not going to abide by our equity analysis and impact. And I also just today was talking with the OUSD trades coordinator about making sure our youth, our high school students who are thinking about what am I going to do? Am I going to go to college? Am I going to get a trade? Am I going to start my own business? We have to give them the tools to choose those paths that's right for them. And so I love knowing that there is a coordinator, but we need to get the education out more. I've been doing high school visits this week, and I'm continuing to do them as a part of my campaign outreach.
So you're working with the youth. You're involved
Absolutely.
in the youth.
And Cynthia said something. She's had a few comments. One of them is we need political leaders to make the priority in a real way and hold local business leaders and developers accountable, which you spoke on. Yeah. And speaking on what you said about schools, I remember when I went to Roosevelt. You know, we had wood shop in school, junior high. You know, at high school I went to at Woodside when I lived in Palo Alto, East Palo Alto. You know, they had you had car shop, mechanic shop in high school. All these programs is teaching trades because trades, society will have you thinking. Don't get me wrong, technology and everything is the future, yeah, but you always will need a plumber.
Yes.
You will always need an electrician. You will
Somebody gonna have to
always
hang that sheetrock.
you will always need those things.
Somebody gonna have to do that roof.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can. One guy I grew up, older gentleman when I was a young knucklehead in the Dubs. He was a preacher, and he used to tell us, you know, we was out there doing what we do because we was young and not full of knowledge of self at the time, but we did what we needed to do to make ends meet. He used to tell us, you know, learn certain things. It's like at the time he was like, it's only 7 things that go wrong with a dishwasher. Learn how to fix it. You'll always have a job. You know, learn plumbing. He was telling us this.
HVAC.
Yeah, exactly. HVAC. He's like, learn these things, these trades, and you know, there's certain things that will always be needed.
Yeah. And the fact that they're unionized, right, means they'll have protections, that there's people bargaining for higher wages and benefits, and who will represent you if you are facing those issues. You need to know the importance of unionized jobs and what that means, and have more black workers a part of our labor unions. That's why I work with the Bay Area Black Worker Center, the National Black Worker Center, Jobs for Justice campaigns that we've had to support people re-entering from prison and jails to come home to have actual enfranchisement, to learn a trade or skill, or they already have them, but they need pathways into the skilled trade unions. They need pathways to contracts with the city so that they can actually use the skills that they have.
Right, because I know when it comes to like contracts with the city, when certain contractors say it's building or whatnot, and certain contracts there are on the writer, or if I'm saying it right, I'm using writer, that's an entertainment term, but in the contract it may say, you know, you bid on this job, but the criteria is you have to have so many percentage of your workers be, you know, melanated or whatnot, minority. And I have a lodge brother of mine, he was an electrician. He's a foreman. And he comes to me like, man, y'all know anybody that wants to be an electrician? My job is there's tons of work opportunity, and you know, I spread the word as much as I can with, you know, trying to get people in. But those are the things that need to happen.
Unfortunately, the young men that I know, so someone approached me about that these young men can make $30-$40 as apprentice, you know, being in plumbing.
Yeah.
But every young man, unfortunately, that I approached like about 4, like, hey, this could be a good opportunity, and it was basically jokes to them because those fields aren't glamorous. But you can make a lot of money. It's not hard to top 6 figures in the plumbing or electrical trades.
So you have to educate them, have a campaign, right? Make them seem more
It's not
attractive.
glamorous, but everything you ever dreamed of, you could have, and your family could have if you get this. I have another hard-hitting question.
He has another hard-hitting question.
Go ahead.
There's a video going viral right now on Twitter.
Okay.
It's from Jackson, Mississippi, and there's a young man comes outside his house with an AR-15, and he's obviously mentally agitated. And the group of cops surround him. They're all black cops. They surround him, they talk him down, and they take the gun from him. And you know, he still was agitated, but they was able to get the gun from him, and everybody was saying that part of that was because those cops all were from Jackson, Jackson, Mississippi. They were from there. They were black. They were concerned. In fact, a couple of the parents that were out there yelling, like I guess it was family members of the young man, they even seemed to have known the cops personally. And the reason why the video is going viral is because everybody's saying a young black man coming outside ranting and raving with an AR-15 in most communities would have been
in 4 minutes.
killed right there. One of the problems that people say about OPD is that there's too many of them that don't have any connection to the city. They didn't grow up in the city. They don't have family in the city. They don't live in the city. Like, they're literally like cowboys who come in from somewhere else,
Rent
kick ass for the 10-hour shift, and then go back home.
to their peaceful community.
What would you institute any residency requirements or try to recruit more people out of Oakland schools to get in there? Like, how would you address that to make the police more of a part of the community?
I think some of those strategies you mentioned I definitely support, but housing and the affordability crisis is underlying all of this, right? Mm-hmm. That even our officers can't afford to live here, right? The housing crisis, affordability crisis affects our teachers, our public sector workers. Mm-hmm. They cannot afford to live here. They have to commute from far out. If they want a house for their family, if they want to be able to invest in other types of lands and properties, it's really expensive. Oakland is one of the most expensive cities right now to purchase a home in. Mm-hmm. So if we have young officers, people that we're recruiting,
transfer
we don't have anywhere for them to live, we can't institute a residency requirement. Right? That'll just mean we have no police force. So we still have to make sure that we have an actual availability of affordable housing stock that will be adequate to fill the numbers of officers that we want to require to live here. Mm-hmm. So I do support a residency requirement, but that has to come after we know that we actually have the capacity to house them here. And right now, based on the costs, the affordability, it's not going to happen. So we can't do it overnight. It will be a longer process and a plan that I'm absolutely willing to undertake. I do want to recruit from our community. The people who know you the best are able to talk to you, are able to see you as a human and as a person versus a stranger who may only see a weapon or these things they may be trained to assess from a professional point of view. And absolutely, people in our community who may not even be sworn officers have done de-escalation just like what you're talking about. I think of the story that involved my sis Karina Liu, who was endorsed me, who is an Oakland resident, who saw someone who had crashed a car and was unconscious but had a gun on his lap. So no one was really being threatened, like, yeah, somebody's car is messed up, but everyone was just more like, you know, what's going on with this person? Like, he's not responding, he's not moving his car. We see a weapon, we're not sure how to engage. Police were there. She called violence interrupters. She called community members who came and said no to the cops. Let us talk to them. Let us bring his mother to talk to him. That de-escalated the situation where he peacefully resolved the situation. Nobody was harmed. Nobody was harmed. Everyone could go home. The cops, the person in the car, the family members, the residents could go home without that trauma, without loss of life. So there are examples already in Oakland of those very same things. So one, the police need to be partnering with our residents because we actually know people who have the guns and we know how to talk to them and we know when they get worked up and riled up, right? We know some of those folks. I know some of those people. Yeah. So we have to still be and have a real partnership and trust. Police have to still do some of that work to build that trust in our communities. It's not just sitting in their cars or blocking off streets and creating road hazards like I've experienced. It is talking to us. It is being human. It's not showing up everywhere in uniform. It's showing that they also have families, that they also have children, that they deal with violence in their lives as well. And how do they want it dealt with? Is it to put people in a cage? A lot of police would say no for their own family, but yes to the public. We have to change that because we are them. They are us. We want them to be our community members. I support police being a part of our green policy of using bikes and walking and being on public transit to help provide safety, not simply to criminalize or surveil people.
All right.
You're truly impressive.
Very.
Thank you.
Very.
I like your questions.
Now I want to pitch something to you.
Okay.
My goal in 2022 is we're opening up a nonprofit mortuary.
Oh, okay. Explain to me.
Now, the reason why I do this is one of the things I've noticed over the years is that, and it's unfortunately happened in my family, and it's unfortunately touched every family, is that what happens is that we lose a young family member to gun violence, unexpected death.
Yes.
You know what happens for the average family? You can't even grieve. Like that night, you have to concentrate on raising the money for the funeral. Yeah. Like you never grieve. And like say if you get a week off from work or whatever, by the time you raise the money and you get them buried, you have to then go back to work. So one of the things that I've been seeing is the psyche of a lot of people are we're losing family members, and we got to literally hustle like a pimp to get them decently put away. So what I want to do is I want to start a mortuary that kind of caters to them, that's maybe funded. I'm gonna ask the city for a grant. I'm gonna go to people like the Warriors and people who say they're concerned if they're wealthy, and I'm gonna try to generate grants so that way if your young family member is a victim of a homicide, I want to be able to go to them and say, relax and grieve. Your funeral services are going to be subsidized. And I know they have things like victims of crime and stuff like that, but what victims of crime, what a lot of people don't know is when you go in there and say, hey, my son was just killed, victims of crime will say, and unfortunately some of these young people are out there, and victims of crime will say, was he working? No, he wasn't working. He was hustling. Oh, he wasn't working, then his potential income would have been that, so we can only give you like $300. Funeral costs like $8,000.
Yeah.
And they give you $300. Or sometimes, oh, he had a part-time job when he was 16, we're going to give you $600. So that's like a drop. So I want to be able to start seeking out, like, if I see you got killed in the paper, I want to go to your family and say, hey, y'all ain't got to do no car washes, no fish fries, nothing like that. The city is going to help subsidize that so y'all can begin the grieving and healing process. Is that something that you as mayor would be interested in supporting?
Absolutely. I really love the idea, and I love just how much it shows your heart, that you understand that in the midst of, violence and people talking about crime and criminals, that there are families who are traumatized, who have lost loved ones, and that they don't have time to grieve.
This has touched my own
or
doorstep,
process
so
that.
So this comes from a place of personal. Oh,
Absolutely.
Keisha, hello. Thank you for tuning
a couple
in.
questions.
She said, what do you think about addressing the Housing Authority or Section 8 crime issues that are causing communities lots of issues?
Okay. Ask me again. Let me just follow up one point on his mortuary idea. One, it touches me personally because when my grandmother died, we believed that she had a life insurance policy that she had paid into for decades. My grandmother migrated here from Texas, and she had been paying one of those door-to-door life insurance salespeople for years of her life. When she died, there was not enough money to pay for her funeral. My family had to go into debt to help pay her debts, to help pay to bury her. And that set off, a whole domino effect of economic struggle for my family, trying to get those funds together ourselves and go into debt for it. I absolutely understand dealing with trauma is not when you want to also be dealing with economic struggle. And I love that you want to have a nonprofit and provide that to people. And a lot of these young folks are not old enough to have even thought that they needed life insurance.
And then they get
not
murdered.
knowing what that means.
And like I said, and it goes correlation. What they say, the average American has $600 in the checking account, something like that. And then in Oakland, I think the average person might even have $100, and they'll be overdrawn until payday. Yeah. And then suddenly, your son is murdered, your brother is murdered, and you got to come up with $7,000-$8,000 by next Saturday.
Yes, those are people who have been dying during pandemic that none of us were prepared for. Right. So a lot of people, as you said, don't have any emergency savings that would really cripple their entire family's economy to have to pay for something like that. I know some families that literally had their loved ones cremated for no other reason than that's literally like something like, I think it's like $1,200, $1,500 to get the thing, and they don't even give you an urn. They literally give you your people in a box, in a bag, in a box. Yeah. And that's what they did for no other reason than that's all they could raise. Because it was poor people asking other poor people to help. Keisha has some several questions.
Go ahead.
She's pretty heavy. She's a heavy young lady.
Thank you for tuning in, sister.
Thank you.
I appreciate you tuning in.
One of my questions is, what do you think about each district having their own code enforcement and nuisance abatement department? We literally have about 2 to 4 inspectors to address these issues for over 400,000 residents.
I agree with expanding our public service sector, our city jobs, our departments, and expanding them so that we can provide high quality public services in every area. I actually used to intern in the Oakland City Attorney's Office, which is home to some of those code enforcement and nuisance abatement staff members. I would say we need to increase their pay as well as their numbers so that we can better serve our city, so that we can catch code issues. We just had the anniversary of the Ghost Ship fire, which was an illegally converted warehouse where several folks died because there were code violations, and we did not have adequate people who were assessing those, who were monitoring what was going on at properties like this. So it is very key and can save lives if we have people that are adequately able to do their jobs and have the administration support with the resources and the staffing behind it.
Now, Keisha's original question, though, was what do you think about addressing the Housing Authority or Section 8 crimes issues that are causing communities lots of issues? And then she says, if you attend most NCPCs across Oakland, every NCPC is trying to address this issue. So I'm not necessarily speak for Keisha, but it seems like she's of the impression that a lot of the Housing Authority and buildings and stuff like that have become hubs of crime and are causing issues in the community. How would you address that?
Housing authorities are very interesting. They actually have their own police, and they are funded, through our federal government. So I just want people to be clear to understand there is some distinction and other entities that I'd have to work with to address this problem. I will absolutely champion that and bring it to their front step because we have some of our most vulnerable residents living in Section 8 housing and Housing Authority housing. So again, we cannot say that this is a safety net and this is public service housing, this is government housing, but then have it in a state where people do not feel safe, where people do not have any type of quality of life where they are proud of, where people don't want to have their children there, don't want to remain there. Right? That's not what government services should give us that feeling. Again, I want to have high quality public services, which includes public housing, public response in terms of public safety, but we also need to have economic justice so people have choices of whether they want to live there and not feel like this is the only option and the only thing the government is doing for me. So I have to stay here while they maintain an environment that is inadequate. So I absolutely work with our other authorities and those police that work specifically in those housing units and properties. And it reflects a lot of the issues across our entire city still. They have the additional hurdle because it's not city controlled.
Right. And also on piggyback off that with the situation, like I remember some years ago, there was a segment on the news about slumlords this was in San Francisco though. And I think that should be, as far as Oakland, because I'm pretty sure we got some slumlords in Oakland, people that don't take care of stuff as well. And a lot of times, from what I've heard, the conversations I've had with some people, is it gets overlooked, on a wide scale. So how would you, or what are your thoughts on that?
Slumlords?
Yeah.
Again, we need to increase our public sector workforce in our housing services, especially our housing administration, but to have enough people and not just, you got to figure out to call us during business hours and figure out our website, which our city's website seems really old for us to be in the tech center of the world. But we have to make those things accessible so tenants know their rights, so that they know what uninhabitability means, what it looks like, that they don't have to pay rent if landlords are not fixing certain things. Oftentimes landlords get away because they have the power. They'll say, well, I'll evict you if you complain, which is illegal.
Right. To
retaliate and evict someone because they're complaining of you not keeping it in legal compliance with required inhabitability, code violations, all of those things. So again, being in partnership with tenants, providing education to tenants is really critical, but also having, some type of legal services and defense as well, because there will still be people who get put out or who can't stay in their homes if there are major things that need to be changed. But I also don't want to just demonize landlords, that sometimes these property owners do not have a lot of money themselves, and they may struggle and be trying to cut corners and want to keep their tenants but can't, renovate the entire building, can't replace, every stove in a unit. So there needs to also be some resources on that end of
Right.
where can we, if we want to keep people housed, if a landlord wants to keep tenants but can't make repairs, we need to have connections to services, to nonprofits who will, and we need to help educate to make sure landlords know their duties. Some people just say, especially now, they're like, oh, I'll just rent out, the back of my house now, or I'll just build an ADU, but I've never really put work and time into what that means and what your legal obligations are if you are a landlord renting out property. So I always want to start at education, like, and want to assume best intentions, but maybe people don't have the skills and resources to do it. But once people are violating someone's rights, are not keeping a property up to code, that affects our health, that affects our youth, that affects mental, everything. And again, we are in a housing crisis. We don't want people being pushed out or having to live in, uninhabitable conditions simply because there's nowhere else to go or because they don't know what their rights are in the process. So I think our city does need to invest more in education, and part of that goes along with code enforcement, that if you have a large building or it's commercial and rental, that there's ways that code inspectors can catch some of those things even without tenants. But also being a little more affirmative if we know there's more slumlords or violations in certain areas of the city. Again, beefing up those code enforcement in those districts. So that's about equity. It's not maybe every district has the same number, but where are the most people suffering? And let's put our resources there.
Right. Like me personally, I think if you own a building, duplex, triplex, whatever the hell, apartment, I think as an owner, you should be educated. And if the city had something, a course, just to, because say I bought it, I don't want to tell my shit too much, but, you own some shit, own some property, something somewhere, and you want to know, you want to take care of your people. You don't want to be a slumlord. I'm not a slumlord. I don't own hella shit. I'm just speaking it into fruition.
I've been a slumlord.
I've never been a slumlord.
I've been a slumlord.
I have a property management company
Thanks
run
for
my
keeping it
shit
real,
and
Pharaoh.
cut me my check.
I mean, I was
But
broke.
look,
See, we
so
have the very people right here.
yeah, so I'm just saying, I think it should be a condition to where, say, I own an apartment building. I buy an apartment building in Oakland, right? And I need to check off these boxes or criteria of me owning this building and knowing, what the steps are. Like you said, what it means to be an owner, my responsibilities. I think that should be something that's enforced and should be a criteria to own buildings and property. Just to, like you said, the education piece. So therefore, out of ignorance, I'm not putting somebody in a deplorable situation.
Yeah.
Keisha has another question.
Okay, Keisha,
It says,
keep on coming.
because building all of these mini homes is a waste, is there a case manager going in on these sites and figuring out what is the goal of these unhoused residents? And for those who don't want any help, then what?
I could say there's certainly not, 100% rate that every single person is getting access to case managers. I'm actually concerned about how inconsistent all of the different city-sponsored RV parks or encampments or tiny shed communities are. They're all made of different material. They all have different kind of setups, different numbers of people. Some of them have regular food service. Some of them don't. Some of them have workers or showers available. Some of them don't. So one, there's not even a consistent standard of what we're looking at that the city's providing, and it's not every single person is getting access to this. So I know that the city's not comprehensively collecting all of what are these people here for, what is their goal, how long have they been unhoused, what things have they tried and failed. And there's a whole matrix of reasons why people might deny this city-sponsored housing. It might be that they have pets that they're not allowed to bring. It might be that they have a partner that they're not allowed to stay with. It might be that they have a male child and it might be for women only. So there's a lot of reasons and restrictions that go into these housing communities that are popping up that are not necessarily people-centered and are not based on what housing advocates are asking for. So that's already part of the problem that we're seeing of why not everyone is going into them, and there's not enough, right? These are kind of, people are claiming this is temporary housing or transitional housing. It's really replacing the emergency beds that we don't have, right? The city legally evicts people from the street. You cannot evict someone unless you have a shelter bed to offer them.
Right.
We don't have the shelter beds, so we're trying to make these tiny homes and tough sheds and say, well, we can offer you space there so we can evict you and close down this encampment. That's
Right.
exactly what we're seeing all across the city.
Exactly, because remember we had the situation where, and it didn't happen, but at my office, our parking lot in the back, city was going to try to make that a little mini homeless community center or whatnot. And we're like, we're business owners here. We have a parking lot, and this is not adequate space. And the city, just speaking frankly, the city has its heads up its ass when it comes to this current administration with the way they handle things and they're doing things, and I'm just going to be, like I said, frankly, bluntly honest as I can only be.
Yeah. And I know they didn't build it in our Union Hall's backyard,
they
but
tried
they
to.
did build it on the East 12th parcel. And there's now 2 encampments. One is co-governed, one's not. So again, inconsistent with 2 encampments right next to each other.
Right.
And those still, are making really small strides into the amount of people that are unhoused, that are living in cars and RVs. And I'll just say that I visit the RV park that's sponsored by the city right here at Coliseum. And it's to house elders who are at risk of COVID. And right next to it, there is the youth tiny home village. I've done food distribution to these RV parks. I've had elders in them say some days they don't eat. Some days they get food that's so beyond recognition, so disgusting, they will not eat it, right? And just because people are unhoused, just because people are struggling, does not mean that they need to eat anything that people drop off and put in front of them.
Right.
And these are elders saying that they are hungry and the food is so terrible that they are being provided sometimes. So it still makes me concerned and wonder when I am doing service to these encampments, to these tiny homes, some of them sponsored by the city, they're still lacking again in other resources, even if the city's provided them with this emergency shelter.
Now, Keisha says we can't save everyone. How do you feel about that?
Sad truth.
I believe you can think that personally, but I think as a city and as the next mayor, it is my job to have a safety net to help those that are most vulnerable. Our city is only going to be as successful as our most vulnerable people. We're only going to be as healthy as our most vulnerable communities, which we've all learned with the pandemic happening that is affecting our health. No matter what you do personally, everyone's health is going to be affected. So we still have to have a city where everyone is included. We can't just decide to not serve some folks and just say, well, you failed, right? Our city is public dollars. We are publicly elected. We are meant to serve the people and those who definitely don't have their own, who can't hold their own, who don't own their own property, who don't have their own business. We have to provide that. So I believe we can not necessarily save everyone in terms of what that salvation means, but we do have an obligation to provide a baseline so that everyone has adequate housing, food, opportunity for education, economic development. We have to have clean air and water for our city. So those are basic things that I do believe is the responsibility of our elected officials, of our city government, and what, again, our $4 billion budget should be doing is providing a baseline and a safety net for life in Oakland.
Okay, time for another hard-hitting question.
Okay.
It's
These have all been pretty hard.
It's 9 a.m. It's your first day of office.
Yes.
I'm standing there. I'm your assistant. Because y'all don't think I ain't finna parlay this, but I'm hungover from celebrating your victory.
Oof, okay.
You're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. It's 9 a.m. First day in office. What's your first order of business?
I'm actually gonna have to delay my response because we will be releasing our full platform and our 100-day plan. A plan for what we're gonna do, not just the first day, but our first 100 days in office. We'll publicly release that. I'll be speaking on it, especially when we get into candidate forums, so that people can hold me accountable. It won't just be one thing, right? I'm going to have to do a lot of things. And y'all see I have a lot of energy, and I already have my hands in many different areas of our city. So it will be multi-pronged, but I'm going to say just wait. Follow me at victoryforoakland.com. Follow me on social media. We'll be releasing our commitment to what actions we'll take in our first 100 days.
Okay, good answer. Good answer. Good answer. Now, do you have plans to expand city government, or you plan to shrink it?
It's a good question. I would say I want to expand again our workforce, the number of city employees. I want to expand the resources and staff of most of our departments. I even want to expand the staffing that we have for our city council members. Like, they represent thousands of people in each of their districts. Most of them have 2 to 4 staff. I want them to be able to better effectively serve in their districts and reach their constituents, so we can have a holistic picture when making decisions and legislating. But there will be some debate that I would like to facilitate with the public, actually, around the strong mayor system. Oakland is very unique in having a strong mayor baked into our charter. We've had several past mayors who passed legislation that the voters approved that made the mayor's seat stronger. And that's why there's several members of the council who are vying for the mayor's seat, because they understand that it is consolidating power and has a lot of control over the actual administration, over our budget, over even just kind of the branding of Oakland, how we show up and represent our city to coalitions of governments, to the federal government and the states, and to our neighbors. So there is going to be kind of a debate on, whether we should expand the strong mayor system, whether we should reduce the strong mayor power and distribute it back.
The strong mayor was only instituted for the ease to get Jerry Brown to run.
Jerry Brown did author the ballot measures, but also Ron Dellums did a study around how to make it even stronger. It is interesting that some civic groups believe that the strong mayor needs to be even stronger and have more powers, including veto power over the council. I think that's the wrong direction to go in. But again, I'd like to host actual public debates, public forums, so that I'm not making decisions about the future of our city's government structure by myself or just with the people in power. It has to be with the people that we serve. So it's really going back to y'all.
When we vote you in, we want you to have that power, because then we know the buck stops with you.
Yes, I still want to know if people want more than 8 council members, if y'all want less. Again, if you want to consolidate all the power to the mayor, but y'all have to remember that I'm not going to be the mayor forever. The term is 4 years, maximum is 8 years.
I'm gonna, as soon as you get in office, I'm gonna offer. But we gotta get rid of term limits.
I don't support that. Term limits are good.
We don't care what you support.
Everywhere needs term limits.
You're gonna be mayor for life.
Even in Congress, they need term limits. Some of them
You're gonna be Allyssa Victory Castro. You're gonna be. You're gonna be mayor for life.
I got a question. Term limits.
I got a question from
we'll
the
work
inside.
With y'all on how that will
says, how would you address the crime spike?
Okay, I know this is big in our news, in our media. I want people.
Is it overblown or is it real?
I want people to take a pause and to really look at our data of crimes throughout the years. This, certainly in terms of homicides, is one of the highest number of homicides we're having in Oakland compared to any year. But the crime waves of retail thefts, that has been happening in the Bay Area since I was a child. Yes. It has been happening and always increases during holiday season when people are having sales, or Black Friday, where people are already kind of encouraged to go crazy and pack out stores. And we're in the middle of a pandemic, right, where so many people lost their jobs. We had unemployment had to expand to provide that safety net, but unemployment has ended a lot of benefits for people. We had eviction moratoriums to pause rent and to pay people's rents. They're trying to slowly wind down those programs, and there will be a lifting of the moratorium that could give us an eviction cliff that people are going to fall over. So there are people who are desperate. So again, the root causes is economic injustice, is lack of opportunity, and some of these are youth who may be homeless, who may not have anybody who is directing them and guiding them. The answer is not simply criminalization of those people. The names and ages coming out of folks who are being arrested and charged in these retail thefts are 20, 19, 17. They look like me. They are black and brown children. All right, so I work inside prisons. We also have a huge DOJ investigation inside all of the civil rights violations in our county's jail. Mm-hmm. So I know that simply locking someone in a cage is not the answer, is not going to rehabilitate them or necessarily change their behavior, and can actually set them up for worse outcomes. Because when you get out with a record and have a criminal conviction on your record, it's harder to get employment. It's harder to get housing, even with equal opportunity laws in effect in our city. All right, people, there's still a stigma on you, and there's still a lot of adversity people face even when they've served their time, even if they're innocent, but have had to serve time and face a conviction. So I want to respond that's centering human life, that's centering compassion. Some of the retail thefts, stores like Louis Vuitton and corporations are insured.
They got insurance.
They can afford private security. They will have their merchandise and their windows and doors repaired. But what is going to happen to those children's lives? All right, so we have to really think about where the consequences are going to fall, and it's falling on our future.
Yes.
All right, so I'd like to see people in diversion programs, doing community service, having to do educational courses to invest in them. I don't believe anyone enters violence the first time having committed it. Many people are learning violence, and some of them learn it from our police. Right? We have armed responders with guns and handcuffs and batons who show up to respond to even traffic incidents. Mm-hmm. So, yes, there is an issue, especially with homicides, especially with gun violence, but also some of that is still including our public safety professionals. Right? I work as a police practices attorney. Every day I am dealing with officer-involved shootings, with police and sheriff misconduct, with cover-ups, with civil rights violations in our jails and prisons. So still the system that we're thinking is going to come and save and administer equal justice is not. So crises within our public safety system cannot adequately respond to the public safety crisis itself. I was also part of Oakland's Reimagining Public Safety that was actually about investing in people, investing in our Department of Violence Prevention, which is reporting the highest vacancy rates right now. So if we know there's a crisis, we have to have leadership and budgeting that is going to respond, and not simply in criminal solutions that have failed. I was out there, but I have a lot of other opinions and thoughts. I also want to plug, actually, the Department of Violence Prevention is having its Town Night series tonight. I think it ends at 8 p.m. It's in several different locations across the city, and this is one of the first initiatives to provide safe community spaces, free fun, food, vaccinations, games, events for the entire family that our city can participate in. So I do want to also highlight the opposite side, that we have amazing initiatives and programs and community leaders that are providing safe spaces, crime-free areas, and are doing that work to take back our streets.
Now, the RPST board, Keisha says she was a member of that, but there was a focus on one agenda. Now, she's got a couple questions. Would you hire new city people, for example, city administrator? Because some people have been in positions for too long and nothing has been done. I guess in a results-oriented world, I guess she's not happy with the results. Would you make sweeping changes, or would you try to uplift the people in these current positions?
I mean, I value our city workers. I know that they do most of the work daily to actually implement the work that our electeds are doing and setting out for the city. I would want to retain as many city workers as possible who really know how the city is functioning, and many of them can identify the issues with management, with administration, with the electeds that they serve. They may not say it loudly or publicly, but they will say it when you talk to them one-on-one. So I want to even allow the workers to be empowered in their workplace and not simply clean house, because I think it's really the electeds at the top that set the tone for the administration and the departments. So I would absolutely want to work with our current city administrator, with our current city department heads and our city staff. And if they're not with the Victory for Oakland plan and don't want to serve people and serve them equitably, they will remove themselves from city employment. So I'm not planning to fire or remove anyone, but
So heads are not going to roll at 9:01 a.m.
No, there's
on your first day.
No, but there's going to be a clear plan and directive and a paradigm shift of how we're going to work and engage with our city, with each other internally. If people don't want to work in that environment, they can remove themselves, but they will be required to work that way if they remain in the city.
Now, Keisha disagrees. She feels that we do need to clean house. And she says
Let's talk, Keisha. Let me know if you got some names and people I need to look at.
She says there's been a lot of inequitable issues due to some of the city workers that need to resign, and we need new leadership in certain
She said that was an example. Not exactly that.
We also have a Department of Race and Equity that was one of our newest departments established. It's also one of our lowest staffed departments. And they should really be leading equity analyses for all of our city work, all of our city employees, all of the projects that we plan to roll out to help them understand what it means to really lead with that lens, what it means to analyze transportation from an equity lens, what it means to analyze library services from an equity lens. So there need to be more investments in some of our departments that should then help to administer the other departments. So yes, there may be staff who are not with there, may be staff who are just collecting a check, and that will become clear once we get to who is going to help implement this new paradigm shift, who is going to be on the ground working. I want city workers to not just be in City Hall, but out in the streets serving the city that is paying us.
But as your chief of staff, if you want heads to roll, well, you can focus on that other agenda at 9:02. I'll be firing people on your behalf.
My plan and goal is not to fire anyone, but it is to reorient our city to justice. Again, if people are going to obstruct that or don't want to get with the program, then they'll make the case for themselves of why they need to be let go. But I'm not coming in expecting people to be opposed to justice, to be opposed to equity. And if we find out they are, then maybe they should have never been hired to the city in the first place.
The victory team is coming, and I'm coming with them, and I'm coming with an axe.
You just like the power trip. You just want to fire someone.
So, I know you've been doing some fundraisers. You got any events coming up where people can shake hands? I know you got to shake hands, kiss babies, and all that shit,
All of it. I mean, right now we're, holiday time. I do some holiday things around the state and with some of my family, but we are fundraising heavily. Please contribute. Any dollar amount helps. Even $1 can help us buy a bottle of water for volunteer walking and knocking doors. victoryforoakland.com. You can even contribute monthly. So you ain't got to try to drop a lot of money at one time, but you can slowly help and give a big contribution over the time of this campaign. Our biggest upcoming event is going to be hosted at the Joyce Gordon Gallery in downtown on 14th. And it's going to be January 13th, 5 to 8, Thursday.
Do we have to wear our good clothes, or can we come as well?
I mean, I'm always about come as you are. It is the art gallery. There'll be a beautiful exhibit that you all can enjoy. We're going to have a feature by Melanated Wine. So there will be a little bit of sipping and talking. And we'll have some artists and other folks there, not just me talking at y'all. So it'll be a good time, but it is a fundraiser. That's one of our biggest events. So again, I'm going to calm down a little bit during the holidays. I'll probably be on the phones and email every day, but we'll let people enjoy their holidays and let y'all have your trips and get some rest. But we're coming hard as soon as we hit January. We're going to be all across the states. We're going to be doing phone banks and field and door knocking. So we also really need the gift of y'all's time. That's actually the most valuable thing you could do is sign up as a volunteer to help us reach the voters who will actually decide this race. Money is nice and it helps us pay people. It helps them get the materials they need to talk to voters, but your time as a volunteer is actually more valuable.
That is true. That is true. As with any campaign, with anything, it's the workers behind the scenes who volunteer their time, who get the stuff done and push it. And, we hosted your announcement function a couple of weeks ago at the local.
Yes, thank you.
Of course, welcome.
We've already had some events. We've had residents who've hosted house parties. We've had teachers who've hosted Zoom parties. Also, that's a part of volunteering. So if that's the volunteer service you'd like to contribute, if you have a group of people who will hop on a Zoom meeting or who will come meet me anywhere in Oakland for an hour, please sign up. We can just schedule a date. We'll make you a flyer so you can send it out, and we will make sure we come to you, to your part of the neighborhood, and bring our Victory for Oakland message.
That's what's up.
I have another hard-hitting question. But this
I
one's
thought
actually,
you were my chief of staff. Like,
this is
what's with all the
actually
questions?
this is actually one that a lot of people feel is frivolous, might feel frivolous with everything that's going on. But I was a promoter in the 90s.
Okay.
And through systemic things in the city police department,
Mm-hmm.
it literally was impossible for a black person to open a nightclub in the city of Oakland. And so they would do different little tricks like,
Yeah.
oh, we need to inspect the tile again or something like that.
Is
And
that
schedule it 60 days out where you're paying rent on the building. Like some people would get buildings and they would go out of business. But what that has led to now is there's been a resurgence in nightlife in downtown Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people don't
Big
realize
city.
there's literally only one black-owned club, and that's Jeffrey's, and he's semi-retired. Some of the other clubs that are portrayed to be black-owned
Mm-hmm.
are actually not. Chinese people own the building and the liquor license, but they have a black front person. So I'm not gonna put none of them on blast.
No
But some of the clubs that y'all think is black-owned are not actually black-owned. That person's a front man. Now there was
Just a
also Leach, but Leach just recently closed down. So in a resurgent city with resurgent nightlife, with a still, it's declined over the years, but we still have a significant black population.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one black club owner in the entire downtown area. Have you thought about how we would address that? You know, because traditionally when black club owners have attempted, they've met a lot of resistance
Red
from
tape. Yellow
yeah,
tape.
you know, that ends up pricing them out because you go rent a building downtown that's $15,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
and 9 months later, you're still trying to get a date to open.
Yeah.
And I know some things are state level, like the alcohol license, but then there's city inspections and things like that, and they drag their feet, and people have literally gone out of business without even opening. And most of us have learned to not even try because we know,
That's the intent.
you know.
Yeah.
And then if we do get up, I forgot, there's also Complex. I'm not
Yeah.
quite sure of their
Yeah.
actual ownership
Oscar.
situation, but there's Complex. But anytime anyone yells at anyone downtown, Complex gets blamed. The police saying, "Oh, they attract this certain crowd, this and that." So I know they're under
That's
constant
a
pressure,
bunch of
and they're right there by Jeffries. And so anything that happens,
Yeah.
they're considered the hub of, like as if John Gotti is throwing the club. How will we address that for black people to open up spots downtown and not get harassed by the police or not be subjected to the red tape?
You got the hard-hitting questions.
Yeah.
Well, I'll address on two fronts. One, we have a residential real estate problem with housing affordability, with homelessness, but that also affects commercial real estate.
Okay.
Right, the prices are extremely high. We've seen a lot of black restaurants and other businesses
Yeah.
shutter their doors, have to go to food trucks or pop-ups out of someone else's spot because they cannot afford brick and mortar. It is too expensive, or there isn't any available in the districts or the regions that they want to be in. And there is a lot of red tape and permitting that goes into it, and some of it is administrative inefficiency, how slow they're moving on the end to actually give y'all your permits and approvals. All of the meetings that might happen that council may want to, we'll delay it if it's a new building that's going up. So there's a lot of the administrative efficiency side and the actual affordability that we have to address. It's not just about renters and people living, but also commercial business space. I want to invest also in our commercial business areas here in Coliseum, where we used to have nightlife and bars and movie theaters in East Oakland that served as nightlife for our black residents. So many of that has been divested, has been replaced with nothing, with just abandoned buildings with fenced out lots. So there has to again be economic justice, economic equity, and real investments in the areas of our city, not just in downtown, but in the areas where our community lives, where we want to establish businesses, where we want to draw other people to. All right, not just have nothing here and everybody has to live here and go to downtown. where there's no parking or there's a lot of police right next to the police department. And the flip side is our police need to not be engaging in racial profiling and discriminatory policing. They need to administer equal justice. We have a black chief of police, and I hope that that will make a difference in these types of questions in relationships. Just having identity doesn't necessarily mean it changes the whole structure of policing.
Segue. The rumors on the street is that there's a element in OPD that is actively undermining him.
I'm sure. I'm sure they're always trying to undermine black leadership. Even in the police department, I've represented police as an attorney when I did pure employment discrimination cases. I would represent cops who had been unlawfully discriminated against and then fired for complaining about it. People who weren't paid, people who were being harassed by their own fellow officers. Majority of them were black, or they were women or black women that I was representing. So I understand too that some of these issues are within the officers themselves, and they should be champions for racial equity even in our policing. And if y'all don't remember, we're still under an 18-year-old settlement agreement that we negotiated in the Ryder's case. The case was brought because of racial profiling against black West Oaklanders and excessive use of force against them. So our police department has a long history in this city of disproportionately targeting, profiling, harassing, incarcerating our black community, our black residents. Right? That hasn't necessarily changed. It doesn't change by just putting a black head into the department. There has to be cultural shift. There has to be intentional equity that we bring through every department, especially this department. So yes, we need our police to engage in constitutional policing, equal justice. They don't even need to be on some of those beats if there's not real crime happening. If it's just noise complaints and those types of issues, we have to address, zoning and having other responders that are not going to criminalize folks for being loud. We know black people are loud. We like our music loud, right?
I slap all day.
We like our drinks loud. We like our smoke loud. We know if we know that's what our community does, if we know that those are practices, then we have to make sure that our city is respecting that our city is zoning and preparing for that. And I do want to shout out groups like the Black Cultural Zone, who have started adult roller skating. On it's 2 weekends a month. I think their next one is coming up this Sunday.
Where they skating at?
It's right at Eastmont Mall.
I've seen
Mall,
that.
Which is emptied out, right? There's nothing in there but a police
legendary
station.
Eastmont Mall.
And a McDonald's. And the Ghazali's Market on the other side. But it's right next to the Transit Plaza. It's called a Coma Market that they set up, and they also have adult roller skating in the evening. So they are trying to use the space that they have, and that is city-owned land. They're negotiating right now to have development rights to really develop it into a community space. So there are groups that know and see the same need that you're identifying, that are doing what they can without city help at the moment, and are trying to get the city to give them stewardship over that land, to give them resources and funding to better provide that adult entertainment and nightlife. So I think there are a lot of people have the same vision. And again, I want to be that mayor that works with you all to implement that vision.
Cool. Now, Keisha wants to know.
Okay, Keisha.
How many officers do you think we need in Oakland? Because there's some people, I guess the staffing levels are a little off.
Nobody wants to work here except the racist cops.
There's no magic number. I want to be very clear with y'all. Again, I work in policing in 48 out of 58 counties in our state. I'm also connected to organizations that do national policing. There's no magic number. There never could be, to say, well, our city will be completely safe and no crime will ever happen if we have this one number of officers. That's never going to be the sole solution or metric of success of our department. Right? Success is the trust that they have with our community. Success is how well they know our community. Do they live here? Did you grow up here? Are you a part of any community orgs, or do you just show up for your job and get told what to do and don't see people as your neighbors, as your friends, as your family? All right, so public safety is, again, addressing our 18-year settlement agreement, where we're still not compliant with every single one of the agreements that our city and department made to stop racial profiling, to stop excessive force. So no amount of officers are going to address that. that even when people are coming into our department, they're engaging in unlawful activities and activities that still aren't getting us to a point of compliance with the law, with our own agreements. So we still have an issue about the real culture, the training, even the paradigm of policing and their relationships with us. Simply having a number misses the entire point.
But is there a specific number?
There is not.
Okay, well,
There
let me
is
ask you
not.
this.
Oakland
Is the current
legislated
level
a number.
adequate?
I do not think we are adequately using the number that we have.
Okay.
Again, a lot of
So
people
you're
are
saying
complaining.
change in strategy,
Yeah.
even the number that we currently have could be effective. It's
Yes,
simply a departmental culture or the way they're being implemented.
absolutely. Our council has already taken some initiatives like removing police from special events permitting. Why were they ever doing that in the first place? They are doing an administrative job, and that is their job under our charter, under our city code. Our council has already directed our city administration to have a plan to remove those duties from OPD and put them in an administrator's hands. It's very common sense, and it still hasn't been done. So we still have police doing non-criminal things, responding to non-criminal issues while we're in a crime surge, homicide crisis. So if we want to address that crisis, we need to put our police on addressing that, right? Not on sitting and watching encampment cleanups, not on sitting and watching sideshows happen. So we need to prioritize them to address the crises that our residents want to see them, not simply they can sit and collect a check doing inefficient things or things that non-sworn officers can do. There's no magic number. The whole talk about specific numbers is because in 2014, our city passed what's called Measure Z. It was a specific tax measure that said we can collect these tax revenues from parking if we budget as a city for a specific number of officers. And that stemmed from the elected officials at that time thinking and believing there is a crisis going on back in 2014. The only way to solve it is with this one department and putting all of our resources into it. Our police department is moving towards having 50% of our general fund right now. They don't perform 50% of the work in the city.
Right.
We still need them to efficiently work with the funds they have, $383 million, plus additional for things like their helicopter and their boat.
Yeah.
They have money to work with. They have a lot of resources and power. They're
just
talking
don't
about
use
they
it
brought in the
correctly.
FBI and the CHP. They're already working with other law enforcement. We live damn near in a police state.
Pretty
But
much.
it's been
Okay,
pointed
and we're
out in the
still not
comments,
safe.
We only have 676 officers for 400,000 people, and there's a comment saying that's just simply insufficient.
Again,
What do
there's
you
no number. That is, what is it? One officer for every person? Should we have 425,000 officers? Right, there is no number. And again, police are responding to crime. They investigate crime.
Not always.
They don't always do that. But I'm saying they're not necessarily at the outset preventing crime. We have a Department of Violence Prevention that right now has the highest vacancy rate. So again,
Are
we
those
have a
sworn
department.
officers, or that
No,
just
they're not sworn
city
officers.
city employees?
They're employees, and again, there's other pilot programs like the MACRO, the Mobile Assistance Crisis Response Oakland, that is going to be run through our fire department. And they are trained in terms of medics, they are officers in terms of the fire department, and have all of those licenses and certifications, and are providing a different crisis response. That all of that frees up our police to focus on their niche of crime. Right, so again, there's a way that we can better use the staff that we have across all departments, not just expect one of our 20 plus departments to address public safety. Public safety is all of us. Public safety is the public. It's not just one department, it's not just one person. And we cannot put all of that pressure on our police. That's why so many of them are leaving as well. It is not a good environment for them to work in. They are overworked. There is a lot of overtime happening, and we're not efficiently assigning our officers to the areas that they need to respond to, and we're not adequately staffing things that are trying to prevent crime, that are investing in our residents, investing in housing, and investing in jobs. So it's a holistic system of public safety, which was the whole purpose of the Reimagining Public Safety Task Force, that really comprehensively thinks about safety as not just calling 911. Right? That is a response when something is already happening to you. When someone's already broken into your car. Mm-hmm. Someone's already been shot.
Right.
Okay, so we have to really think with common sense and logic that just staffing up the response is not going to solve the issues of crime and public safety altogether.
So do you think that maybe OPD, you mentioned that OPD is already working with other agencies like CHP and FBI. Wouldn't it be more effective for them to probably maybe contract some certain things out to, say, the Sheriff's Department? Or things like that to integrate them into, while you're getting things up to speed and getting things to become more efficient, wouldn't it make more sense for them to integrate more with the Sheriff's Department, especially in things like patrolling schools and things like that, and also with BART police? Or do you think OPD has
I disagree.
what they need already?
I believe they're not using what they have already, that they're not demonstrating success or efficiency or, again, legal compliance with what they already have. Just last year, 2020, people violated civil rights protesters' rights in the streets. Over 20 officers were disciplined for that, while we're still trying to comply with our excessive use of force and racial profiling settlement agreements. So, again, I don't believe their department is performing at the maximum potential and level it could with its current staffing, with its current resources, with all of their collaborations already. The Sheriff's Department is already part of our mutual aid strategy, right? Mutual aid is when they call in for backup and assistance. There's a statewide mutual aid plan. All law enforcement agencies are already put into a different region with a different head agency. So we're already connected deeply with the Alameda County Sheriff's Office. They already have jurisdiction over the entire county, which includes Oakland. Oakland's the county seat. So there doesn't need to be a contract because they already have jurisdiction and authority. Right? We already see Alameda County Sheriffs riding around. They have satellite offices that are right here in Fruitvale. Mm-hmm. So they already are in Oakland. They already serve Oakland. I've been ticketed by them for traffic things. Like, they already are doing a lot of the work from traffic to crime response. Mm-hmm. So again, we have several law enforcement agencies operating here, not just OPD. So it's not just those officers you're seeing. It is the county level. It's the state police. We have federal police here. We need to really be asking, why are we in such a crisis when we already have heavy investments in multiple layered agencies operating in our city? How can they work better? And it's not just we need more officers and money. That's maybe what they say. But I want to take a real critical look at the holistic landscape of public safety and prevent violence before it happens. Not invest in how do we lock people up and take them off the street. Those are carceral responses.
Right. That's heavy. Now, are you afraid of any blowback from the police of, oh, she's not going to let us do our job, this and that, so thus we're just going to basically be non-responsive? Are you afraid of that?
I'm not. I mean, I would be afraid if anyone has that attitude. Our officers, go through extensive training, get sworn and certified, and their mission is to protect and to serve. That is what I want them to do. If they don't want to get with their job requirements, they will leave themselves. I'm not planning to fire officers or do anything like that. I don't expect huge blowback because I already work with our police department. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't work just against them. I work to help them do their jobs better. I work to have people-centered policies. I work to revise our use of force policy and suggested that they remove some of their weapons if they want to not kill people. I suggested that they have some restrictions on dealing with pregnant people or minors or people who are disabled. Many of those were rejected. Right? I have policy suggestions.
Who rejected them?
I will not say specific names.
Okay.
But
we ain't blowing people out the water yet. I'll blow
my
them out
job
later.
is working with the police. It is talking with them, is talking about labor rights. I've advised our city on protecting police labor rights. I'm a union attorney and a union member. I would never break people's contracts and violate things that they have negotiated. Right. So I don't expect huge blowback, but I do expect a conversation that may not be the way that they want it to go, because they work for us. They also work under the mayor and the city administrator. One department does not get to dictate how our entire budget is spent and what our electeds do. It is the other way around. I'm very clear about that relationship and interaction. But again, I've represented police officers. I'm very concerned about the study about the disparate discipline of black police officers versus all others. It's happening in our own city with the black police chief. So again, I want equity in our department. I want equity in how we are treating our officers. And I want to work with them to help them run their department better. I want to work to help us get out of our 18-year settlement agreement. I know our department would love to see that end, would love to stop having to put out reports and have federal monitoring and everything go through so many approval proceedings. Again, I want to help free our department to do their jobs of protection and service, of actually responding to crime. So there may be some blowback. There may be people who make up different lies and narratives about what I stand for. But again, I've represented cops in my career.
Okay.
All right, I protect and respect their labor rights. I've also taught to criminal justice administration classes, which are students who are studying to become law enforcement officers. And some of those classes are taught by former police officers, former police chiefs. And they tell me, Allyssa, we know you don't agree with everything that we do. You don't agree with everything about us being police officers, but we like how you talk about the issues and that you're still willing to have a conversation with us, right? Because they know that there's people who are very anti-police or defund the police or we don't want any police and abolish them, right? I'm able to speak to both sides as a bridge. Right, I'm not taking those extreme positions, but I am clear that our public safety system right now is not working for everyone. We're seeing that with the crises that were happening. Our department is not working as efficiently as it can. Right, again, we're under an 18-year settlement agreement. That's not normal to be 18 years and still non-compliant. So I want to get our police back to what they even signed up to do, to what they trained to do. It's not to evict people from homeless encampments, right?
Right. So with that being said, it's been a great show tonight. I want to thank everybody for.
I mean, we already so deep in.
We 45 over.
We got one
We're
more.
at
I got one more.
7:45?
I got one more hard hitting question.
We got to do a second interview.
Now, a lot of the concentration ends up on the OPD, and they do eat up a lot of the budget. But there's another department that eats up a huge amount of the budget. None of them are from Oakland, live in Oakland, and whenever they do hire or have openings, it's nepotism at its finest. And that's our good friends at the fire department. How do we plan to address that good old boys club?
Well, excuse me. And the fire department has been slightly divested over the last few years. We had a brownout last year during fire season to increase investments in our police. So I think we still need to invest in fire services overall. We have a lot of climate threats and definitely fire threats, especially in our hills communities and with just a lot of, our fire department responds to car crashes. There are paramedics, there are EMTs. They do respond to a lot more than just climate and weather issues. So we need to have them be diverse.
Is that out of 100, every 100 firefighters, 98 of them is good old boys who never stepped foot in Oakland until they came in and filled out their application.
Again, I want to have public sector housing, workforce housing, so that we can have residency requirements, so we can recruit more intentionally from people from our community, have real partnerships and trust. Our fire department, I've actually represented fire personnel in some of their licensings. Fire department, people actually have high rates of alcoholism. Many of them lose their licenses for things like DUIs, but they also deal with a high level of trauma, of PTSD, of seeing people, injured or dead when they arrive on scene. helping pry people out of their cars in
And yes,
horrific
and
car
open
crashes.
fire comes to every shooting and every car
Yes.
crash. I do acknowledge that. So
Yes.
people like they see that many fires. No. Every time someone's shot, every time someone's
They're
in a
the first
terrible car
responders.
crash, a full fire engine comes
Yes.
to the scene.
So they are, emergency responders, and they have been. And they are touching criminal issues, climate issues, safety in general. And they also, they also need more resources in general, but I do want to diversify our fire department in terms of people living from Oakland, being from Oakland, having experience in various communities that are being affected by high traffic collisions, by the climate issues and the emergencies. As I mentioned earlier, the fire department is also going to be the home for our mobile assistance crisis response. And I believe the legislation said all kind of alternatives to police.
So you're going to have actual firefighters doing that, or it's going to be coming out of their budgeting?
It's going to be run under their department, so it will come out of their department budgets, but there's been specific funding allocated to the pilot programs for the macro program. And they are hiring a director of macro, but they'll still be under the fire department. So they're building out a whole staffing structure that is going to be doing crisis response from the fire department staffing, from the fire department's control. That's not necessarily 911 dispatch, but having other numbers you can even call if you're in crisis. That's not, I think the police are going to come, I can call this other service. So I will definitely work with our fire department to make sure those things are efficiently implemented, that we have real diversity and equity in how we're recruiting and training and hiring people. And again, all of our public service staff, I want to have a real relationship with our community, to have to be out in the streets and understand what our residents are facing and dealing with. Our fire department is responding to a lot of encampment fires right now because we have pushed people to hazardous areas in the city. People are trying to cook, we're trying to sanitize water to be able to survive, right? We've left people in those conditions of survival, and then it's causing horrific RV fires, car fires, encampment fires that our fire department is responding to. So they have a very close eye on a lot of the issues that are happening because they're responding to them. So I do want to lean on them for some of their wisdom and believe they have some suggestions of how we could better invest in city response and services for those most in need.
Well stated.
Heavy. I just want to be commissioner of arts. I want to be the art commissioner.
I thought you want to be chief of staff.
Yeah,
you want to be administrator. Now you want to be the head of the cultural affairs commission.
I'm going to be your hardest working employee.
Okay. I like that. I appreciate it.
So
and you asked me a lot of hard questions, but I'm like, we're going to have to do a whole second interview with just your hard questions.
We'll have
serving other people.
Serving other people. We'll definitely have you back on again.
I'm devil's advocate tonight.
You do my role? Got it. So once again, tell the people where they can find you.
VictoryForOakland.com, not the number 4, FOR. You can also follow me on social media, same name, Victory for Oakland. I also have personal pages that you're welcome to follow. I kind of post the same content and post resources and events happening in the community, not just things happening to build my campaign. Again, sign up to volunteer. Please contribute before the end of the year, and let somebody know that there is a woman running to be the first Black woman mayor that is running to put the city back into the hands of its residents and workers. It is so critical that we turn people out to this election, that people are registered to vote, that our young people aging into the population are registered to vote, that people understand how critical this election is going to be.
Yes.
Right? It's going to decide the future of our public services, it's going to decide the future of our city, of our climate, of our racial composition. Right? So there's a lot at stake, and I'm so happy that I was able to talk to you all about it. We'll be releasing our official platform the end of this month. We're having a lot of events kicking off next year, January 2022, and we hope that we'll see you there. Please ask me questions on my social media, ask me questions on my website. I will respond, and definitely will be at candidate forums where I'll be hearing from all of our civic groups and community groups about what's important to them. And we will be releasing our first 100 days commitment so that people are clear what I stand for, and how to hold me accountable.
There it is.
9:01 a.m.
You got it.
And if you're a City of Oakland worker and it's 9:02 and you see me hovering outside your office,
You know what that means.
maybe I see you put on one of them Grim Reaper. Like,
No, Lord. Maybe for your movie. But thank you for having me. Thank you for your hard-hitting questions. Thank you to everybody in the chats who tuned in and had a lot of questions and comments. Again, I look forward to continuing to talk with you all and to build out a community vision.
Reese has a question, though.
Yeah. Oh, Brother Harold, what's up, Reese? Reese, we was okay. Reese got a question. He said,
What's the question?
your position on the proposed ballpark deal.
It's a long question to get into. I've touched on it a bit earlier. I was a part of the city-sponsored community benefits process. I was on our Jobs and Economic Development Subcommittee. I will be pushing to negotiate community benefits, right? This is a corporation that is asking to build on public land, to be sold public land. Mm-hmm. They've already said they want to build luxury housing, ballpark, retail. It still must benefit our community, right? I'm not going to just give away city lands to get nothing in return for our people. So I absolutely want to keep our teams here, and I'm happy that we've already awarded exclusive negotiating rights to the African American Sports and Entertainment Group for the Coliseum, who wants to bring a WNBA team. I'd like to see investments in soccer stadiums. So I love sports. I want to keep our teams here. They have to show that they're willing to serve our people. And I said with the A's, we really need to be critical of how they've already been in relationship and showed up for our community. They currently play at the Coliseum. They're here until 2024. We've had renderings and plans for things like Coliseum City, but our Coliseum area is completely divested and devastated. So those are things we have to think about and need the A's to show strong what they will do for our city, how they will work with us, how this is a benefit to the people of Oakland. I'm clear on how it will benefit the A's.
Got it.
Amen.
So, with that being said, I'd like to thank everybody that's tuned in. Keisha, thank you for tuning in. You've been a blessing, sister.
She's the best.
You got great questions,
and thank you for serving on our task force.
We've had a phone. Usually, we'll have a phone line from time to time. I will get back into that and have a phone line where people can call in. So
let's do it.
Brother Harold, I want to thank Cousin Biagi, Connie. Who else tuned in? I'm gonna do some shout outs real quick before we tune out. You know, it's Friday. I got shit to do. Cousin Helen, Lamar, Cynthia.
Thanks, y'all.
Cousin Damari, what's up? Squareopolis, what's up, bro?
Oh, the Lamar,
Square tuned in. Karma Lil was tuning in. You got a bunch. I can't see this a bunch of scroll, but thank everybody for tuning in, man. I'm Deshaun. It's Sagittarius season, as I've said at the beginning of the show. You know what I'm saying? Next week, it's the birthday edition show. Ain't no telling what we're going to do next week. It's going to be some fun shit, though. It's always fun when I do my birthday show. The illustrious, my partner in crime here, the great Pharaoh, December 19th, Tommy T's.
Man, it's going to be there. Be
square. Be there. Come support my fam. The movie, another movie premiere. Mm-hmm. Comedy show hosted by the great Mario Hodge, the fam. Friend of the show. He's been on the show. We're going to get Mario on again. We had Tommy T's. Jay Rich, Jay Rich
come through and crack a couple jokes.
Yeah, Jay Rich, that's fam. We got December 19th, Tommy T's premiere of the movie Dead Rapper and the comedy show. We're going to be there live, chilling, having fun. Tell people where they can follow you at.
Hey, y'all can find me across the board at Pharaoh Films. I'm talking about like on Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. I'm very consistent. Pharaoh Films. You can even Google it and see a picture of my smiling mug shirtless.
Exactly. And like your message said today, the best thing you can do is just go do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm Deshaun. You know, the host of
Humble servant of
Cognac,
the
humble
people.
servant of the community. You know what I'm saying? Humbly cocky, Sagittarius all day, top of the man, bottom of the ooh, ooh, ooh. You know. So,
All the
thank you
details, just
in.
results.
Thank you again for tuning in.
Thank
You know what I'm
both.
saying?
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. I'd like to once again thank you, Alyssa, for being on. I appreciate you always.
Yes.
Everybody, y'all be safe this weekend. Watch out for each other. You know, wipe more than twice. Never argue with a motherfucker who breath smell like Lake Merritt water. Hey, and now it's time to say goodbye to all my Negro friends. Hey,
All
love and
power
light.
to the people.
Yeah, for real though.